Welcome to Table for One. I'm the narrator, and in today's video, I'm going to do a solo playthrough of Voidfall. So in this video, I'm going to play on hard mode. I'll play the first scenario, First Stand, using House Astoran and the starting origin B, which is Sentries. And this setup was by request, so if you have something you'd like to see in Voidfall, let me know in the comments. Let's get rolling. Alright, so I am all set up now to play a solo game of Voidfall. I am playing, as I said, on hard mode today, using House Astoran, and I am using Origin B, which starts with the Sentries technology. So this was by request. If you have a request for a certain scenario and house combination that you'd like to see in Voidfall, let me know in the comments, and I will try and get a video out there for it. But I've already played through all the scenarios on the medium difficulty on this channel, so now I'm playing through them on hard. I can't guarantee my win rate is going to be very good, but I'm going to give it a shot. So I am playing on the first scenario, First Stand, and as always, quick disclaimer: I've got a Etsy store I co-own with some friends, and you'll see a bunch of those components in today's playthrough. So that's going to include today the various fleet tokens, the installations and any guilds, the glory tokens, the tech and agenda trays, and the bounty and reclaim tokens, which I will use a drawback for. But you can find a link in the description of that store if you're interested in those pieces or any others, because we do have all sorts of other Voidfall storage stuff. But I am all set up now, according to this origin card here, and the techs that we're playing with today are from House Belatan, House Dunlork, House Marquelos, and House Valnus. And the ones that I've really got my eye on are Data Refinery. That would be super helpful, especially the improved version for paying for upkeep using credits, which also pairs very well with this Cycle 1 Galactic event that I drew. And energy cells could make me a real powerhouse using Sentries. Those two combined together pretty nice. And Trade Nexus would be good, just because I don't think I'm going to get very many trade tokens. I don't know, but to double the bonuses on them would be helpful. Of course, any of those techs are good, and we have no idea how this game's going to go, so we'll see. My two level 0 crises that I drew here for the military track is have 2 or more pure sectors with population 4 or higher. And on the economic track, it's have 20 or more total combined production yield across all resources. So as a reminder, the yield, you would look at this number here for all 5 of your resources, add them up. If your yield equals 20 or more, then you solve that crisis. My starting tech Sentries is I may deploy into Sentry fleets, so I've got the reminder marker out here. And when I build an installation, I may instead deploy a Sentry in the same sector. And I feel like Sentries Tech and House Astoran in general get a bad rap. But Sentries are pretty cool. They're basically like a Corvette when you're an attacker, but they're like a sector defense when you're a defender. But this ability is pretty nice, and then the improved version would be good to get. And what else? I think that's about it. I think we can get started now. Oh, the heroic cards. So we've got Heroic Politics, Heroic Temptation, and Heroic Production for this cycle, and we have 4 turns in this cycle. So I'm going to take my origin card now, flip it over to the starting agenda side, and slot it. I will score 1 influence for each of my pure population, and 2 influence for each pure sector I have with at least 1 sentry fleet in it. I get 1 influence for each pure sector I have that has at least 1 sector defense, and then I lose 2 influence for every corruption on my house mat. And then as a reminder, right here, I start with 1 level on the food production dial, even though I have no farmers guilds. So let's get going with this Galactic event, and the first thing I need to do is add 1 Voidborn fleet power and 1 number 1 glory token to 1 adjacent Voidborn sector. And that's pretty easy in this case. I'm going to put that up here. That's definitely a good sector as a dumping ground because there's not a lot of incentive to go up there. I want this one so that I can go this way. I kind of want that one so I can go that way. Like these, all the pathways are taking me this way. Nothing's taking me up, especially with that void storm there, unless I was trying to sort of get this one, and then this one back here will be safe from skirmishes in the future. But that's not what I intend to do. So here's the Voidborn fleet power. And then the glory token comes out of this nice tray, again available on the Etsy store. So we'll put that here, and I will probably never think about it again. And now each player, which is just me, I can either activate one fleet power, raise one pure population, or build a bankers guild. And before I make that decision, let's look at the two scoring criteria for the end of this cycle. If I have 10 or more pure population, I can build a guild and an installation. Or if I have 3 or more pure bankers guilds, I can advance a civilization track. Both of those sound good. I think the one on top with building a guild and an installation for having pure population, that one's better. So I will probably aim to do that one. But I think with heroic production out here, I'll be able to do that without taking this raised population here. So I think I'm going to build a bankers guild. Reason being, again, I'm really planning on getting data refinery. And so those bankers guilds are going to help me out later. So I'm going to put that here in this sector. So my credit wheel goes up 2 times here to a yield of 1. Normally I'm pretty averse to building bankers guilds, actually. They're not super useful, but they do have their use cases, and data refinery is certainly one of them, especially playing as a store, and I'm going to have this extra upkeep, so I want to make sure I have a way to pay for it. So let's get going now. I need to draw the first crisis card. And we're starting with a war card. Okay, so at the end of this turn, we will resolve the crisis board here. There's no modifiers except that if I win the skirmish, I gain a bounty token. So that's actually pretty fortunate. That's not a bad start. Although I was going to start by invading this sector here, and now with a war card, I don't think I'd be able to defend that at the end of this first turn. So I'm going to deviate already from my plan. I'm going to start with progress. So I'm going to start with this middle action. I'm going to spend 2 science. So I go from 3 down to 1, and I'm either grabbing data refinery or energy cells. Those will be the first 2 techs I get, I'm almost certain. And I do see that data refinery, the improved version, is up there in cycle 2. The improved version of energy cells is not. So there's a little more urgency to get data refinery now. If I don't get it now, the only way I'll be able to get the improved version in the next cycle is to play both progress and innovation. I would have to commit to that right away, or hope that I get joint innovation. That would be able to do it. But you know what? I'm going to go with data refinery because when I get energy cells, I'd like to be able to take advantage of this bottom portion, and I don't really have a lot of energy right now to be messing around with that. So I'm going to take data refinery. I gain 4 influence. That gets me up to 14, and I gain 2 credits and 2 science. So that is very helpful. I'm up to 5 credits and 3 science now. And now each of my bankers guilds adds 2 levels to my science production. And I do have a bankers guild, so let's take care of that now. My science production goes from 0 to 2, which puts my yield at 1. And just for reference, my total yield between all 5 resources is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm trying to get to 20 for that crisis down there. And then for my next action, this one's not really helpful to me. I could recall a fleet power and then remove a corruption from that sector, but I don't have any corrupted sectors. And then I could regroup. And again, not super helpful right now. So I might as well take the top action. It's free, and I can either build a scientist guild or produce science. And I don't know that I'm that desperate for science this game, but this will have me building bankers guilds to get more science that way. And if I add a guild to either of these spots, I'm going to be adding an upkeep, and I just don't know that it's worth it at this point for more science production. So instead, I will just produce science. I have a yield of 1, so I go from 3 to 4. And so that's the end of my turn. Let's resolve this crisis now, which is a war. So first we need to skirmish, and I have 1 corruption on my house mat, plus 1 here for this crisis board modifier. So we're skirmishing at 2. My home sector cannot be invaded, so it's just here. If the Voidborn come in with 2, they lose 1 to this sector defense, and then this sentry also acts as a sector defense. So that's it. Combat's over, and I win. So the card says I gain a bounty token for that. So I've got this custom drawback here, again, available on the Etsy store. Let's pull out one of the original cardboard tokens to see what my reward is. And it's 1 food and 1 science. That's great. Those are things I can use. So I go from 5 food to 6, and from 4 science to 5. I like that. And what else now? Oh, now I need to do the economic track. So I need to pay 1 material and 1 energy. And as it happens, I have 3 of each of those. So let's knock them down to 2. And we are done with that war card. So I know there's only 1 war card in the first cycle, so we don't have to worry about that again. So let's draw the next alert card as we go into the second of 4 turns this cycle, and it is a level 1 crisis. So our crisis card is a military crisis that says gain a glory token while already having 5 or more total glory value. Otherwise, consume a basic tech. I have a real aversion to consuming text, even though realistically it's not the end of the world. But man, something about it, I hate doing it. It doesn't feel good. So I don't think I'm going to be resolving that this for a while though. So I likely don't want to make it ongoing. So we'll see how we're feeling at the end of the turn. But I'm going to next play Politics to do the Heroic Politics card. And I'm going to take the top action and the middle action on this one. And I suppose I will start with the top action. It doesn't really matter, at least in this case. So I need to spend 2 credits from 5 to 3 and a science from 5 to 4. And now I can advance my statecraft track and gain a trade token. So let's take the trade token first. And as a reward for that, I will gain another bounty token. So back to the draw bag. Okay, and that one is 2 food. That's great. So we will gain 2 more food. Now I'm up to 8 food. That will help pay for upkeep this first cycle. And now I can advance the statecraft track, which goes to here and then goes up again. And now the reward is 1 support agenda. And I don't really love this one. Sometimes I take it as a temporary measure. So you can gain, if you have 1 or more corrupted agenda slots, you gain 7 influence. And that can pair nicely with this starting agenda here that gives me -2 for each corruption on my house mat. So it can like negate this one. But by the end of the game, I would like to have all of my agenda slots filled and uncorrupted. And I find I have a little bit of a difficult time gaining agendas with House Astoran. So I don't want to be stuck with that one. So instead, I'm going to draw the next 2 support agendas. And we have Industrial Conglomerate and Heavy Industry. Ooh, and Heavy Industry is interesting. That will reward me for building more Bankers Guilds, which pairs with Data Refinery. And then it just wants me to build 1 more Engineers Guild and 1 more Miners Guild to go with these other 2 peer guilds I have. Gaining 10 upkeep is not terribly difficult either. I can probably do that. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Heavy Industry. So I'll put this over here. This area is my hand. This goes to the bottom of the deck. And so that was this action. I got my trade token and my bonus. I just slotted the trade token already. And then I advanced the statecraft track, which got me the support agenda. So now we will take the middle action. So I will spend 2 energy. I'm down to 0 energy now. And 1 science. So I'm down to 3 science. And I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from an adjacent sector, and then I can invade. And they could, in theory, be different sectors, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to remove this Voidborn fleet power from this adjacent sector here. And now I will invade. And I think I'm going to leave both of these guys behind. I'm just going to invade from the home sector with these 2 corvettes. And so I have 2 initiative. The Voidborn have 1. So I fire first. And there are no Voidborn left to return fire. So I win that combat. And I gain this number 2 glory token. And so I score 4 glory, going from 14 to 18. Rocking and rolling here. And there is a bounty token to be had. Let's gain 1 of those from the bag. And then we'll have to take care of that Harbinger, won't we? We'll get to that when we get to it. Oh, wow. Another 2 food. That is appreciated. So I'm up to 10 food. That's pretty nice. That has been fortunate. So another bounty token. And this Harbinger. Yeah, that's going to go on the economic track here. We slide that down. All right, and that was it for Heroic Politics. Let's discard that card, and now we've got to resolve this Crisis card, and I am not going to make that ongoing, so we're going to consume a basic tech, and it has to be one worth 4 influence if possible, and I think I'm going to discard or consume targeting. It's either targeting or shields, because they're both techs that would do something to improve my corvettes, and I know I'm not going to use both of them, and I want to leave the option open for the improved shields to gain the approach absorption, so that's why I took that card. So this can be discarded now, as can this alert card, and now we draw our 3rd alert. It's another level 1 crisis, okay, so I don't think we'll see any more level 1s this game. Another military one. After you build a sector defense, choose to also spend 1 energy. You may not use credits. Ooh, I'm all out of energy, aren't I? Well, I think I can make this work. And if I can't, this immediate penalty add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector, I still have room up there to dump 1 more Voidborn up there. So not that big a deal, really. Maybe I would actually just prefer to do that than spend the energy. But I am going to play Temptation to take Heroic Temptation. And I'll take the top 2 actions on this one as well. And I'm going to start with this middle action. I need to corrupt one of my civilization tracks and then advance it. So I think I'm going to corrupt my economic track and advance that so I do not gain the reward under it, which would have been one of every resource type. But now I can advance any track, and I will advance my statecraft track again. So that will unlock one improved tech, which I'm going to need. So I'd certainly like to improve sentries. I'd like to get improved data refinery in the next cycle too. So I got to keep pushing these tracks, and I get 2 rewards. One of them, I'll take the bottom one first, is to activate 1 fleet power, and then the second is I can build an installation. And so I'm going to use sentries. Instead of building an installation, I will deploy 1 sentry to this sector here. All right, so that's a little bit bolstered now. And now I'm going to take this top action. So I need to spend 4 resources in any combination. And I think I'm going to spend 2 material and 2 food, believe it or not. So I've got 8 food, no more materials. And then I can gain 4 resources in any combination. And this is where I could gain an energy, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'll take the penalty. So instead I'm going to just take 4 credits. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take 3 credits and 1 science to get me at 6 credits and 4 science. I think that's how I want it. And then I can take 1 action off of a preferred focus card. And so I'm going to take an action off of development, and it's going to be this middle one here. Although, maybe I want to take the bottom one instead. That's a good question. How am I going to do that? Yeah, I'd like to remove some corruption off of my house mat here, but I'm going to stick with this middle action. I'm going to recall 1 fleet power, and it's going to be one of these corvettes from that sector, and now I can build a guild and an installation in that sector. And so I will build an installation. I'm going to do a sector defense rather than deploying another sentry because I want to have both in that sector in order to score it at the end of the cycle. And then for the guild, I will put down another Banker's Guild. So that is going to make this go from 2, 3, 4, 5. So my yield is now 2. And also, because of data refinery, my science goes up 2. So my level is at 4, yield is at 3. So I've paid my 4 resources, gained 4 other resources, took 1 action off of a preferred focus, so we can put that preferred focus away, and we can get rid of Heroic Temptation. We've taken 2 actions, and now we need to do something with this Crisis card. I'm certainly not making it ongoing. I'll take that penalty, add 1 Voidborn Fleet Power right there, and discard the card and the alert card. And we can now draw the last alert card for the cycle. It is a 2. We already had a war card and 2 1s, so that was all that was left. We knew it would be a 2. And the level 2 crisis is, after resolving an innovation focus, choose to also remove a scientist guild, otherwise consume the leftmost improved tech. Well, the leftmost improved tech is autonomous drones. I won't really miss it, but that will be another 5 influence at the end of the game. So that's real quick between this one and another one. 10 influence with the Voidborn is not my favorite, but I certainly can't play innovation focus in cycle 1, and I don't have a scientist guild to discard even if I do. So that's something to think about. But I will now play my last card for the cycle, production, to take heroic production. And I will take the bottom 2 actions, starting with the bottom one. And I may not have thought this through very well. Yeah, this will be tighter than I like, but it'll be okay. So I'm going to pay the cost. Come on, this Corvette. I got to recall 1 fleet power. So that sector is a bit weaker than I would like it to be, but I can now remove 1 corruption, and I'll remove it from that sector. All right, and I can now advance my society track. So this goes up, and now I can build 1 guild, and I will make it a Banker's Guild. I'll put it here in my home sector. It's not really where I wanted it, but it's not a bad place for it. So this value goes up 3 more times from 5 to 8. My yield is now 3, and that also makes, because of data refinery, my science wheel go up 2 more levels to level 6. My science yield is now 4. So it doesn't matter yet, but I'm trying to prepare to score for this later to get Bankers Guilds in every pure sector. And now I'm going to take this middle action, which is free, and I'm going to take the bottom half of it, which is to improve or raise 1 pure population, and I can do that twice. So I'm going to raise this pure population first from 3 to 4. So that means my energy and banker levels each go up 1. So level 4 now on material. So I can produce, I have a yield of 3, and level 9 now on credits, so I have a yield of 4. And the second one I'm going to improve is this one here. So again, from 3 to 4, bankers dial goes up one more time. So my yield is still 4. So my total yield for this level 0 crisis now is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14. No, that's not right. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so 7 more to go for this. But I do now have 2 or more pure sectors with 4 populations. So this level 0 crisis is solved. So I'm happy to get that off of my military track. And so that's it for heroic production. We will put that card away. And I've decided I am going to make this ongoing, this crisis, on my economic track. I think I can play innovation, and I think I can get a scientist guild as well before that time. So that's it for this cycle, for the action phase. So that was all 4 cards, 4 turns this cycle. And let's take a look here. Not to jump the gun, but if we look at the Galactic event, I do in fact have 10 pure population and 3 pure bankers guilds. So we'll see if it stays that way by the time I get to this step here, but I should have my choice of those 2 rewards. But we start now with the in the evaluation phase with part 1 is taking care of the crisis board. So first we have a skirmish. There's no modifier here. This is empty, so we're going to skirmish at 2 because there's 2 corruption on my house mat. So if 2 Voidborn come here, there's a sector defense and a sentry, so they both get taken out on the way in. Same scenario here. There's sector defense and a sentry, so I successfully defend the skirmish. And now we need to pay this economic track, so that's going to be 2 material and 2 energy. And I have 0 of both of those. I'm going to pay 4 credits, down to 2 credits now, and then 1 science. So I go from 4 down to 3. So the crisis board is resolved. We go to step 2, that is upkeep. I have this trade token covering up the upkeep for my 1 agenda, and then I have 2 upkeep just for being House Astoran, plus here's a 3rd one for filling up all of these guild slots. And that's it. So 3 upkeep total, not too bad, especially because I think I got a lot done. So I've got 8 food, I'm going down to 5, and now my upkeep is covered. And the other part of this is I get to activate 2 fleet power. So I've got 5 active fleet power now. I hope to put that into use soon. And then we check for the safe haven condition. I do not have any pure 6 population sectors with 3 guilds, so nothing to do there. So now we do go to the Galactic event, and I can choose from either of those bonuses to resolve. So the bottom bonus is pretty nice. I could advance this statecraft track, and then remove a corruption and be just 1 statecraft advance away from unlocking my next improved tech. So there's a pretty compelling case to be made for that. And even as I advance that track to unlock the improved tech, I can gain a tech. So there's a lot to be said for that. But the other option would be to build an installation and a guild. And it wouldn't be bad to build the Scientist Guild for this crisis down here so it's available when I later play Innovation. But you know what? I think I will take the bottom one. I kind of surprised myself because I want most of my installation building actions to be coupled with improved sentries so I can also get the installations on the map, but also get more sentries out on the map. So I'm going to take that bottom one. I'm going to advance the statecraft track and then remove a corruption. So I'll take this one off my economic track. And yeah, they were both good options, but I convinced myself that was the better one. So now I'm going to score my agendas, and I've only got 1, so that's not very many agendas, but I do have first, I score all my pure population, and I've got 10 pure population here, so I go up to 28. Now, 2 influence for every pure sector with 1 or more sentries, and I've got 2 of those. So that's going to be 4 influence up to 32. And then 1 influence for every pure sector with at least 1 sector defense. I've got 2 of those, so 2 more influence there, up to 34. And then I lose 2 for each corruption on my house mat, so I lose just 2. So I'm down to 32, and that's it. So that's a bit of a low score, just in general. You know, as I mentioned, I do have a hard time gaining agendas with Astoran, I find. So let me see if I can push that in the next cycle. But I'm going to do the preparation phase now. So I'm going to remove the tech blocker up there. I'm going to remove 1 trade token for the game. We'll replace the Galactic event. I will add 3 more heroic focus cards, and then I will refresh the crisis deck, and that will mean adding a harbinger to the crisis board as well. That's something to think about. And I will regain my focus cards and add innovation into that pile. So after all that is done, I will see you here. It'll be the event stage of cycle 2. So let's get going. All right, so we're ready for cycle 2 now. I did realize I forgot to put the population on this Fallen House sector, so there's a corrupted population of 3 there. I added my Harbinger, believe it or not, to the military track because I feel like this one's getting a little bit full. And the heroic focus cards are Prosperity, Conquest, and Reinforcement. And then the event for this cycle is Dark Ages. So there's going to be 5 turns this cycle, and we will resolve whatever that card says. And then the scoring criteria is to have either 8 or more satisfied upkeep to gain an agenda, which I would really like to get, or have 8 or more pure installations to gain 8 influence, which is not that much influence, but I should be able to have that many installations, I think. All right, so we need to add a reclaim token and a Voidborn fleet power to one adjacent Voidborn sector. And I think I'm going to do that here. That's a lot of reclaim tokens. That's pretty nice. I think I might want to go for that. And then we need to corrupt the Might Agenda offer. So that is corrupted now. If we take a Might Agenda, we gain the corruption. And now we can convert science to credits up to 6 times. So 1 science for 1 credit. I don't know that I necessarily want to do that. I've got 2 credits and 3 science right now, and I think I want to keep it that way. So now we can get started. Let's draw the first crisis card, or first alert card rather. And it's a war card again. We're starting off with war twice in a row. So this time we'll have to resolve the crisis board with +1 Voidborn fleet power. And I'm currently at 1 + 1, so that would be 3 Voidborn fleet power with that extra. And if I successfully defend, I have to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So I don't love that. I don't really want to pay for this economic row either right now. So yikes. But I think I'll be able to get by. I'm going to start by playing politics, which I think is maybe how I started on the last round too. So we're going to take the top action and the bottom action. And I'll start with the top. I'm going to spend 1 science. I go from 3 to 2 to advance my statecraft track. So as I alluded to last cycle, this goes into tier 2. I've unlocked a second improved tech, and now I can gain a tech as the bonus. And I'm going to gain improved Sentries, my starting tech. So first of all, I gain 6 influence, which gets me up to 38, which is still pretty low. And now, when I build an installation, I may additionally deploy a sentry into the same sector instead of or. It was an or before, now it's in addition. And the immediate bonus is I can activate 1 fleet power and I can build a sector defense. And so I'll build a sector defense right here and then additionally deploy a sentry to the same sector. So let's tuck that in there. And that was this action. That was advancing my statecraft track. So now I'll take the bottom action. So that's going to cost me 1 credit. So I've only got 1 credit left. And I gain a trade token first. So let's take this one. And I'll place that here. And so as my reward, I'm going to gain 2 credits. So I think I came out on top on that one. So I'm up to 3 credits now. And I can move a corruption. And I'm going to move this one from my house mat to this sector for the time being. Let's corrupt this sector. And okay, it's the end of my turn. Following the order of events here, I need to have a place to place this trade token, and I don't have anywhere to slot it, so it's just going to go right back to the Galactic board. That's okay, because I still came out ahead. And now I need to resolve this war card. So we start with the military track. So we're going to skirmish at +1 Voidborn fleet power. So I now have no corruption on my house mat. So we start with 1 + 1 is 2. And so if the Voidboard come in here, I've got 2 sector defenses plus the 2 sentries. Here I've got a sector defense and a sentry. I'm doing 2 and 4 approach damage either way, so they're not getting in. So I successfully defend the skirmish, and now I need to add a Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. So let's put that here. Since I added the that extra reclaim there, I kind of want to go that way rather than that way. And now I've got to resolve the economic track, and that's not going to be as great. So I've got to spend 1 science. I go from 2 to 1. I've got to spend 2 materials and 2 energy, and I don't have either of those, and I've only got 3 credits. So 1, 2, 3, and now I've got to take a 3 influence penalty. So I'm kind of out of resources now. This is a bad thing. 7, 36, 35. Is this what I should do, or should I be taking a catastrophe token? Yeah, I think I need to back this up. This is way too damaging. I can't afford it. Let's gain the 3 influence back. Let's gain my resources back. So that was 1 science, back up to 2, and 3 credits, back up to 3. And then we just undo the skirmish, and all that means is I take this fleet power back. So I'm going to take this catastrophe token. It doesn't feel great, but that'll take care of the war card by itself. Sometimes that's just what you need to do, but I know that there's a couple more war cards out there, but I don't think I would have been able to survive with those resources. So now for taking the catastrophe token, I can either remove a corruption or gain 5 resources, and I will take the resources. And I think I'm going to take 1 science to get me up to 3, and then 4 credits to get me up to 7. I think that's what I want to do. So, okay, let's get rid of that war card. That's done. The catastrophe token never feels good, especially on hard mode, but even though I could have just taken the penalties and been done with it, I think that the long-term effects of that would have affected my score so much that it's probably worth it to just take the penalty for the 20 for the catastrophe token and move on. So let's draw the next alert card. And thank goodness it wasn't another war card. It's another 2. So the next level 2 crisis is an economic crisis, and that's looking kind of packed right now, but it says before you advance your society track, choose to also spend 2 science or 2 credits. And I definitely can't afford that immediate penalty of 4 energy, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I guess I'll just kind of ignore it and keep going. I'm going to play reinforcement, and I'm going to keep this reinforcement. I'm not going to play the heroic version, and so I'm going to start with this top action, and so the cost is to deactivate 1 fleet power, and now I can advance a track and I can build a sector defense. So let's advance a track first, and it's going to be my politics track again, or my statecraft track. So I'm going to have to deactivate another fleet power to enter this track space. And now I can remove a corruption, so this one goes away. I've got no corruption now. That's always a good thing. And I can gain a dominance agenda. So those tend to score well for your society tracks or your civilization tracks. This one is for the society one. I want to find one that scores for statecraft, ideally. So let's take the next 2. And no such luck on the statecraft track, but this one here, Enlightened Nation, will score if you have at least 1 pure track in tier 3, which I do, and then 3 victory points for every pure sector with at least 3 population. And so I can probably score pretty well for that. So I'm going to take this one as opposed to this one, which has a multiplier for that society track, which is great if you're advancing that track, but that's not the one that I've pushed. And now the second part of this action is I can build a sector defense. So let's do that here. And then because of my improved sentries, I can also deploy a sentry to the same sector. Okay, and now I'm going to take this action on the bottom, and that costs 1 energy, so I'm just going to spend 1 credit. I go down to 6, and I can, again, build a sector defense. Oh, and before I get too far, part of the point of this was I was supposed to pair reinforcement with this agenda that I had in hand, so let's make sure we do that too. So you know what, I've paid my credit for my energy. I'm going to put this here. Before I take this action, I want to resolve the agenda action, so I can activate 1 fleet power, and I can build a installation. So I'll make it a sector defense, and I'll put it here. And again, because of improved sentries, I can deploy a sentry to that same sector. So this is done. Now we'll go back to this action, which again I've paid for, and I can place a sector defense. And I'm actually going to place it here because every pure sector I have with a sector defense will score. And then I can also deploy a sentry to that sector. So we're trying to make use of that tech. And now finally, I can regroup my fleet power. And I think I will take this Corvette and I will move it over to this sector here for my regroup action. I'm going to leave this one here, even though it's not doing anything, because again, I'm going to score for having that fleet power there. So I've now taken the top action, my agenda action, the bottom action. Let's slot this agenda card. And as for this crisis, yeah, I'm really getting myself into trouble pretty bad here, but I'm going to make it ongoing. I should have just taken this penalty and been done with that one, but here we are. So we'll remove the alert card and draw a new one going into the 3rd turn for the cycle. And we have another level 2 alert, okay. And the crisis card, it was another economic crisis. I don't love that. When you play an agenda card, choose to forfeit taking its action. Otherwise, I can resolve a skirmish. I might be taking the skirmish. That might be okay. So now for my next card, I'm playing Conquest. And I do have a special Conquest card as House Astoran, but I'm replacing it with Heroic Conquest here. And I'll start with this top action. So I need to pay 1 food and 2 energy. So food goes from 5 to 4. And I don't have any energy, so I pay 2 credits, which goes from 6 to 4. And now I can invade a sector, and I can remove a corruption from that sector. So I'm going to invade this sector here. So I'm going to split up these sentries. I'll leave one behind and I'll bring two with me. So I'm going to invade with the Corvette and two sentries. And there are two sector defense there, so I lose two fleet power. Let's lose one sentry and one Corvette. These come back here to my active area. And I still have one fleet power left, so I win the combat. Let's gain this card, gain this glory token. I'm going to score 5 glory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at 43 glory now. And what else have we got? On this sector, I can now build a engineer's guild, so let's do that. So this goes here, and now I can raise my energy production level by 3. So this goes from level 2 to level 5. Yield goes from 1 to 3. My total yield is now 1, 4, 7, 11, 15. So getting closer to this 20. I wish I was closer than that, though. And now I can flip this card over so I can have one more tech, and I can gain one of House Dunlork's tech, so either energy cells or orbital docks. And I'm taking energy cells. I've been eyeing that one for a bit, and that's really going to help me out now. So as the defender, as long as I do 1 approach damage, I get 1 extra approach damage. So that is just super strong with all of these sector defenses and sentries that I've got going on. So now I can pay optionally 2 energy to activate 2 fleet power, or 5 energy to activate 3. And I just don't have the resources for it, which is unfortunate. I guess I'll put this here so I don't forget that I have it. But so I'm not going to activate any fleet power, but I do get the effect, which is really important. And now that I have invaded this sector, I can also remove the corruption from this sector. So that's just 3 pure population now. And now I can take another action off of this card, and it's going to be this middle action. So it costs 1 energy and 1 credit. And I'm going to pay 2 credits, so I go from 4 down to 2. Credits are getting tight. And I can take a regroup action, so I suppose I will. I'll take this fleet power cube here and move 1, 2. And just bolster up this sector here that doesn't have any sector defenses on it. And then I can also gain an agenda card. And this time I would like a wealth agenda. And that one's not looking that great to me based off of what I'm doing. So let's take the next 2. We've got Trade Monopoly and what is that? The Redemption Directive. Man, I don't really love either of those. But this one rewards me with a multiplier for having pure sectors with no upkeep. And that is not really in line with what I'm doing. So maybe I'm better off with this one. If I get 1 invade in that sector, then I'll have the reclaim tokens for this part. And then I just score my glory. It's not that much. This is maybe not the most important thing for me to slot right now, but it's better than nothing. So those were my 2 actions. Now I'm going to take this immediate penalty of a skirmish. So I have no corruption on my house mat, modifier of +1 here. Anywhere where the Voidborn come in with 1, either between my sentries or my sector defenses, I'm going to do lots of damage. Don't forget I've got energy cells, which adds the damage as well. So I easily win the skirmish and get rid of that crisis. Thank goodness. And I can get rid of this heroic conquest card as well. And let's draw the next alert. And it's a level 3 alert. And the crisis card is a general crisis. After you gain an improved tech, choose to also discard a glory token with a value of 3 or more. I do not have a glory token of value 3 or more, so that's going to be tough. Otherwise, skirmish with +2 approach absorb. That is not super helpful for me, but I think I'll be okay. So I'm going to stick with my plan and play production. And I'm going to pair that with this agenda card here. And I'll start with this action. I'm going to advance my society track. And before I do, I will spend 1, 2 credits. So I'm out of credits now, but that satisfies this crisis right here. So these can slide back down this way. That gives me a little bit of breathing room. And now the bonus here is to increase 1 pure population. So I'll do that in this sector here. This goes from 4 to 5. So my bankers, or my credits production dial here, goes from 10 to 11, and my yield is now 5 there. And now I'll take this agenda action. I'm going to build a guild and then produce that resource type. So I'm going to build a scientist guild here. So that level goes up by 5. So the level goes from 6 to 11, and my yield goes up to 10 now. So now I produce science. I have 3. I produce 10, so that gets me up to 13. And if we count my total production yield, now I've got 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I've just solved this level 0 crisis card as well. So I think that was worth it. And now I'm going to take this middle action. I'm going to produce the 3 basic resource types. So if I produce food, I've only got 1 food, yield. And again, that's because I start with +1. So I go from 4 to 5 food. I produce 3 energy. So I go from 0 to 3. And I produce 3 materials. So again, I go from 0 to 3. And then I gain 1 influence for each of those guild types that's pure. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3 influence. So I go from 43 to 46. And that was all 3 actions, being these 2 on the card, 1 on the agenda. I will slot the agenda, and I can actually do this this penalty. I'll do this skirmish. So the Voidborn are going to get 2 approach absorb, but they're only skirmishing at 1. So certainly my weakest sector is this one. So if they come in here with 1, I do 1, 2, +1, 3 approach damage. They absorb 2 of it and lose their 1 fleet power to the last one. So this is solved. So I'm just barely hanging on here. Let's draw the next alert card, and it will be the last one for this cycle. And it's another level 3 alert. So let's get the crisis card. And it's another military crisis. So improve any of shields targeting torpedoes, dreadnoughts, destroyers, carriers, or sentries. Otherwise, the penalty is to skirmish with +2 salvo absorb. Now, I've already got improved sentries, and that would not count for this. I have to actually do the improve action. And so I could theoretically get shields in cycle 3, but I will have a pretty easy time with this skirmish, easier than on the previous card. So let's play my 5th card for the cycle, and it's going to be innovation. I will pair it with this agenda card, and I will in fact use this trade token as well. So I'm going to be doing everything. So I'm going to start with the middle action, and so I need to pay 2 science. I go from 13 down to 11, and now I can gain 1 tech, and I am now gaining the improved data refinery right here. And so that'll get me 6 influence. So I go from 46 to 52. And again, I can have 2 improved techs because I've unlocked 1 here and 1 here. So this is my 2nd after Sentries. And now I get a bunch of bonuses. So I can build a guild, and I'm going to put a miners guild right there. So that level goes up by 5. The level goes from 4 to 9. My yield went from, I think, 3 to 6. And now I can build an installation. So I'm going to put a sector defense here, and then I can also deploy a sentry to that same sector. And now I can produce 1 resource. And I'm actually going to produce science, even though I'd kind of rather have the credits. But I'm going to produce science. So I have 11 now. I produce 10. So I overproduce. I just go up to 15, and that gets me 3 influence. 1, 2, 3. I'm up to 55. I've overproduced once this turn. Now I can slot this. And now, in addition to each Banker's Guild giving me 2 science production, regardless of population, during the evaluation phase, I may spend credits to satisfy 2 upkeep each, so twice as efficient as food. That is going to be really helpful for me. So that was a good move. Now I'm going to take this top action here, so I need to spend 2 food. So I go from 5 down to 3, and I can produce science and credits. So credits goes from 0 to 5. And science, I overproduce again. I'm already maxed at 15 and I produce 10. So I overproduce for the 2nd time this turn. So I gain 3 more influence, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can build 1 level of safe haven for overproducing twice in 1 focus. So that's good to have. Oh, and then I also gain 1 influence for each pure Banker's Guild or Scientist Guild. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So I go from 58 to 62. And I'll take the bottom action now, spend 1 food, 1 energy, and 1 material. So each of those went from 3 to 2. And I'm going to go to the wealth agenda again. So I wasn't real happy at this one I've got slotted. Let's see if I can get something better. See, intellectual supremacy is good. What do we have here? Bleeding edge. I probably won't score as well on bleeding edge, but I'll do great with intellectual supremacy. So let's take that and aim to slot it in the next cycle. And that's, another free action for me, which I like. And now all that's left is this agenda action, and I'm actually just going to forfeit it. I just want to slot the agenda card. I am not going to do an invade. So this trade token goes back to the Galactic board. And I'm done taking my action. So let's resolve this crisis card with the penalty. So we skirmish with +2 salvo absorb, but again, we're skirmishing at just 1, and there is no approach absorb. So anywhere that they're going to try and come in, they're just going to get demolished before they even have a chance to hit the salvo. So this is resolved now, and I have now just resolved an innovation focus. So I'm going to choose to also discard a non-home scientist guild. Move that down to get rid of this crisis card. So these go away, and I need to reduce my science production now by 5. And so it's at 11, so it goes down to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And that should be 2, 4, 6. 2 for each of those bankers guilds. So that's right. And we can get that off the board too. Great. So this economic row went from being like catastrophically full to being empty, which feels pretty good. So now we're at the evaluation phase. We've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 focus turns this cycle. So now we go to the resolving the crisis board step, and we start with a skirmish, and we're in cycle 2, so it's at +1 Voidborn fleet power. So no corruption here on the house mat. 1 + 1 is 2, and I have way more than 2 approach damage in any of these places. So we are pretty successful with that skirmish. Now we just need to pay for this economic track, which is going to be 1 material and 1 energy. And I do have those. So 1 material, 1 energy. We're in good shape. Now I need to pay for upkeep. So if we look at my agendas, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 upkeep. Here's 9 and 10 and 11, 12. So if we go here, I've got 5 credits. Each of those counts for 2. So that's 10, and then I've got 2 food, 11, 12. So my upkeep is all satisfied, although I'm mostly out of resources. I've got 15 science, and then 1 energy and 1 material. So we'll have to deal with that next cycle. And then I don't have any sectors with 6 population and 3 guilds that are pure. This one could be close. I can at least get it for the next cycle, but no safe havens right now. So now we look at the Galactic event and the rewards, and I qualify for both of them. So we had 12 satisfied upkeep. This says 8, so I can gain an agenda, and I also have 8 pure guild or installations. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I could choose to take 8 influence, but I think I'd much rather have the agenda card. And I think I'm going to go with this might agenda because I can score really well with that one. So I'm going to have to take this corruption somewhere. Let's flip this over. Where do I want to put this corruption, do I think? Probably here on my econ track. That won't hurt me too bad. And now let's get into the scoring. So I'm at 62 right now. I've got all my agendas filled now. So I score first my pure population, which is 5, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I go from 62 to 76. And then 2 influence for each pure sector with at least 1 sentry. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So that gets me to 84. 1 influence for each pure sector with a sector defense. That's going to be 4 more influence, 88. And then I lose 2 for having this corruption on my house mat, back down to 86. Now this one, heavy industry, if I have 2 pure engineers guilds and 2 pure miners guilds, I gain 6. So that's from 86 to 92. And 3 influence for each pure sector with a bankers guild. So 3, 6, 9. So I'm going to go from 92 to 101. Okay. This one's not going to score great. I don't have 2 reclaim tokens, so I'm just going to score my glory, which is 5. So 106 now. And then I do have a pure civilization track that's at least at tier 3. So I gain 4 influence for that, go to 110. And finally, 3 influence for each pure sector I have with 3 or more population. So that's going to be 3, 6, 9. So I'm at 119. And I've caught up a bit. I'm usually trying to get to around 120 by the end of the second cycle, so I'm really in the ballpark. My score was pretty low after cycle 1, so I've made up a lot of ground, but I'm really going to have to push that score higher if I want to win. So I will do all of the preparation stuff for cycle 3 now, and then I will see you when it's time for the event. So here we go. All right, so I'm ready for cycle 3 now. One thing I forgot to do in the evaluation phase of cycle 2 was to activate 2 fleet power. I did pay the upkeep, I just didn't do that part. So I've done that now, and I've revealed the cycle 3 galactic event, which is adapt and overcome. So there's going to be 6 turns this cycle. The first thing we need to do is take a corruption to our house mat. And so I'm going to put that right here on this wealth agenda spot for the time being. And then we need to add a reclaim token to an adjacent Voidborn sector. So I'm just going to load this one up. Like, I have to go there. It'd be ridiculous not to. And now every action on my preferred focus cards is going to cost an additional energy. So that is Conquest and Development for House Astoran. And now we can draw the first alert card, and it is a level 3 alert. So our level 3 crisis is an economic crisis. Gain 12 food in a single turn, including food that is lost to the stockpile cap. And the immediate penalty is, I can gain a corruption to an occupied agenda slot. I would not like to do that. So what I will do instead for my first turn is play Progress, and I'm going to take Heroic Progress. And while I'm thinking about it, I didn't mention it, but the 3 heroic cards are Progress, Development, and Innovation. So Heroic Leadership was the one we did not see this game. And then what I'm aiming for at the end of this cycle on this card, this is a rare and card. So every peer sector that has at least one basic guild, so Farmers, Engineers, or Miners Guild, is worth 2 victory points. And then every pure civilization track I have that's at least in tier 1 is worth 6 influence. But those are things I'm trying to achieve by the end of the game. But anyway, I'm playing Heroic Progress first, and I'm pairing it with this agenda. And I'm going to start with the agenda action. I'm going to take a trade token. So I'll take this one here, and I will gain 2 credits for that. So I go from 0 credits to 2 credits. And now I will take this middle action, which costs 1 food. I don't have any, so I'll spend one of those 2 credits that I just got. And I need to deactivate a fleet power token. So one of these goes here. Now I can gain a tech and I can remove a corruption. And so I'm going to remove the corruption from here, from that agenda slot, because I really don't want that. And then for the tech, I'm going to gain shields. Let's do that. So that is worth 4 influence. I go from 119 to 123. And now I can deploy a Corvette to my home sector. So this goes here. All right. And so I've taken my agenda action. I've taken this action here. I can slot this tech. So now, as long as I have a Corvette present in combat, I gain 1 salvo absorb. That's nice. And now I'm going to take this bottom action. So I'm going to discard a glory token. Let's get rid of this 1 glory. And now I can deploy a fleet power. That is to anywhere. So let's go ahead and put another sentry here. Deploy. There we go. Another sentry. And I can regroup, and I can remove either an economic or general crisis. And let's do the crisis. Let's get rid of this economic crisis. Let's be done with that, because that was never going to happen. And now I can regroup, and I'm going to move this Corvette to here. So that was my agenda action and 2 actions from this card. And now I would like to slot this agenda, and I'm going to replace this wealth agenda that's there, because that wealth agenda stinks. So this old wealth agenda goes to the bottom of the stack, and now I can slot this trade token. I'll put it here on my first starting agenda. We will get rid of this heroic progress card, and we can draw the second alert card. And the second alert is a level 2 alert, and our level 2 crisis is a military crisis. Take the action on a support agenda while already having 2 or more active fleet power. So I don't even have a support agenda. It'd be a lot of work to get that one done. And the immediate penalty is to add a corruption again to one of these agenda slots. So the game is really pushing for me to corrupt my agendas. I don't love that. So I might just decide to make that ongoing. We'll see. So next I'm going to play production, which is not really the order of events I was expecting to go in, but this will work. So first I'm going to take this top action for free and advance my society track into the first tier, which will score for that galactic event. And now I can raise a pure population. So let's have this one go from 5 to 6. And I can build an installation. And I don't really see any reason to build anything except sector defenses at this point. Let's put one here. And then I can deploy another sentry to that sector. I like to put them like that on the fleet token. Oh, and then almost forgot, I'm pairing this production focus with this agenda card I have in hand. So let's do that action next. And I'm going to build a Bankers Guild here. So that makes the level go up by 3. So it goes from 11 to 12, 13. Oh, that's the max. And then I produce credits. So I produce 8. I go from 1 to 9. so that's a good thing to do. And then I'm going to actually take this bottom action. I really want the middle one, but I just don't have enough actions to do everything I need. I'm going to do the bottom one. And so that costs 1 food. I don't have any, so 1 credit instead, and 1 energy. So I'm out of energy. So I've got 0, 0, 1, 8, and 15. And now I can regroup, which I don't really care to do, and I can remove a corruption. And I want to get this one off my house mat. So that's it for this turn. I think I want to slot this. The question is where. And I think I'm going to replace this dominance agenda. I think that's my weakest one at this point. So I'm trying to optimize as best I can. So I've slotted my agenda. I'm going to make this crisis ongoing. Get rid of the alert card. And that has been how many turns? That has been 2 turns. It feels like about 100. That was 2 turns. All right, so let's get the next alert card. And it's another level 2 alert. I haven't been keeping track. It might have been the last one of those. And it's a military alert. After you regroup, have 5 or more fleet power adjacent to the same harbinger. Otherwise, remove 2 non-home sector defenses. I could probably afford to get rid of some sector defenses. I'm pretty well defended here. So for my third card, I'm going to play Politics, and I'm going to flip this trade token and take all 3 actions. And I'll start with the bottom action. I'm going to pay 1 credit, so I go from 8 to 7 to gain a trade token. So I'll gain this one, and I'm going to choose to activate 1 fleet power as the bonus. And now I will take the middle action. So that's going to cost me 2 energy and a credit. So that's just 3 credits. So I go from 7 to 6, 5, 4. And first I can improve a glory token, so 2 to a 3, and then I can take an invade action. So I'm going into this sector here. This is going to be huge. So I'm going to move in, I think just those 3 sentries and that Corvette should do it. So let's see how this maths out. So they have 1 sector defense, so I lose a sentry on the way in, and now the initiative is 3 to 2, so I fire first. And when they return fire, I have shields because I have a Corvette there, so I absorb it. And now the initiative's 3 to 1. I fire back, and then combat is over. Yeah, I think that's acceptable. I'm going to do that. There were a lot of ways that could have happened this cycle, but it was definitely going to happen. So let's remove the installation and gain this glory. We'll need to score that. So that's 8 glory. I go from 123 to 131. And let's resolve these 4 reclaim tokens. That is amazing. So we've got a draw bag for these as well. Let's grab 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so we get a farmer's guild in that sector, a miner's guild, a sector defense, and 2 influence, and another sector defense and 2 influence. Oh man, that's fantastic. So let's add our guilds. We get a farmer's guild and a miner's guild. There we go. And so both of those levels go up by 4. So food production is now a yield of 3. And materials production, that goes up 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's max. That would produce 15. Too bad I've already played my production card. And I can also put 2 sector defenses there now. And I could deploy 2 sentries as well. I'm going to choose not to. You'll see why in a moment. And I gain 1, 2, 3, 4 influence. So from 131 to 135. That was cool. Of course, anytime you get 4 reclaim tokens at once, it's bound to be cool. Okay. And that was only my second action because I flipped a trade token. Although, you know what? With one of these sector defenses, I am going to deploy 1, what is this, a sentry to that same sector. I'll do 1. So now I'll take the third action, which is the top action here, advance my statecraft track. So that's going to cost me 1 science. I go down to 14. And now I can advance to tier 4. That's going to make me deactivate 2 fleet power. So 1 comes from here, and now this space is empty, so I can choose to recall from the map at this point, and I will take this one. And that one deactivates. So that was sort of a sneaky little way of regrouping, but it wasn't actually regrouping, so I'm not like solving this crisis card, unfortunately. But now, because I've gone into tier 4, I can build 1 level of safe haven. Let's do that. And for the reward, I think I will remove a harbinger from the map. It's always good to get some points back that way. And then here, I get 2 influence for every pure installation I have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times 2. So 22 influence. So it's 35, 36, 37, 47, 157. That was very nice. And now that's the end of the turn. So I return this trade token to the Galactic board. This one gets slotted. And now as for this crisis, I'm going to take the immediate penalty and remove 2 sector defenses from a non-home sector, or from non-home sectors. So I'll take these 2, because they're both still pretty well defended, because they're still doing 4 and 5 approach damage. Or no, 4 and 4. They're both doing 4 approach damage between the sector defenses, the sentries, and the energy cells over here. So this is paid for. Let's get rid of this alert card. That was 3 turns. I've got 3 more. And the next alert is another level 2. Okay. So this crisis card, it's the same penalty. Ugh. Gain an agenda while already having 1 or more agendas in hand. I don't know that that's going to happen, and I don't feel quite as good about getting rid of 2 sector defenses again. But we'll play it out. Let's get the next card going, and it's going to be innovation. And I will take this heroic innovation card, and I will use a trade token again to take all 3 actions. And I'll start with the bottom action. So spend 2 resources of any type. I'm going to spend 2 science to go down from 14 to 12, and I can gain an agenda and remove a crisis card. So I'm going to gain a dominance agenda because I might want an extra invade action. And so we've got interplanetary colonization and progressive welfare. And I'll keep interplanetary colonization. Progressive welfare is not going to help me very much, but it's too bad I never saw the any of those dominance agenda cards that score specifically for the statecraft track. That would have been nice. And now I can also remove 1 crisis card, and I think I'm going to take this one off of the crisis board. So that was the first action. All right, so now I'm going to take this top action, and so it costs 4 of any resources. I'm going to spend 4 science. 1, 2, 3, 4. I go down to 8, and now I can produce both science and credits. And before I produce science, my dial here shows 6, but when I built this one, I forgot to increase it by 2 more. That hasn't had any effect on anything, but I should have 2, 4, 6, 8 science. So I produce science. I have 8 in my stockpile. I produce 5 at 5 yield, so that gets me to 13. And then I have 4 credits. I produce 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gets me up to 12 credits. And I gain a basic tech now. And I'm going to take Trade Nexus. So that gets me 4 influence, 57, 58, 59, 60, 161. And I gain 2 food and a trade token. So my food goes from 0 to 2, and my trade token, I'll grab this one, and I will activate 1 fleet power as the reward for that. And now I'm taking this middle action, which has no cost, and I can gain an improved tech, and I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from any adjacent sector. I wish the map looked a little different right now. The only place I can remove a Voidborn fleet power from is here. So I'm going to do it, but I don't really plan on going that way. So no real effect on the game, but then I can gain an improved tech, and I have unlocked 2 on this track and 1 on this track, and I have only 2, so I can gain 1 more. And I would like both energy cells and shields, but shields is going to be more critical for me, even though I'd really like energy cells right now, in particular, because the reward for that, the immediate bonus, is I can build 2 sector defenses, and then I could just use that to pay for this crisis, but I'm actually going to need shields more. So the only thing I get for that is 6 influence, so I go up to 167. Slot that here. And now when I have a Corvette in battle, I gain an approach absorb and a salvo absorb. So that was all 3 actions on my innovation focus. And I return the trade token to the Galactic board. And because I have Trade Nexus, which I didn't slot yet, when I return a trade token to the Galactic board, I may gain the trade bonus. So for this one, I'm going to take 2 credits. So I go from 12 to 14. That should be more than enough credits, but we'll see. So let's get rid of Heroic Innovation, and we'll slot this trade token on this first agenda here. And for this crisis, I don't really want to pay that penalty, I don't think. But I guess I can afford it. Yeah, you know what? I'll pay the penalty. I'll get rid of this one and this one, I think. And I hope that doesn't mess me up too bad. But now let's draw the next alert card. And it's a war card. This is going to be a tough one. And what have I done? I've done 4 turns. I got 2 turns left, including this one. So war card, we're in the 3rd cycle. So we're going to evaluate the crisis board at the end of this turn. And when we do the skirmish, the Voidborn have +5 initiative during combat. But I think I'll be able to take them out before, like on the approach step before they make it to combat. So that'll be helpful. So I'm about to have a heck of a turn because I'm going to play Temptation and I'm going to pair it with this agenda card, and I'm going to plan on just taking 2 actions on this card. So I'm going to start with the agenda action, the invade action, and I'm going to move from this sector into this one, and I'm going to, I'll need some new fleet power tokens. I'm going to leave 1 sentry behind and attack this way with 2 sentries and a Corvette that has improved shields. So I have 3 initiative on the way in. The Voidborn have no initiative. There's no approach damage done, so I just fire and win the combat. That was pretty easy. So let's move those fleet tokens in a little more. Grab that glory token so I can score these. 3, 6, 9. So I'm at 167. I go to 176. And this Harbinger is going to go on my economic track, and there's nothing else going on there. That was the combat, so pretty straightforward. So now I'm going to take this action from Temptation, which has no cost on its own. I'm going to copy an action from a preferred focus. So one of my preferred focus cards is Conquest, and I'm going to copy this action. So this is my special Conquest, and because of the event, it's going to cost an additional energy. So that is going to cost me 4 energy, and I have none. So I go from 14 credits down to 10, and I am invading again, and I am going for that rift. So I'm going to abandon the sector I'm in. So when I do that, I lose a glory token. Let's get rid of this 1, and we add a bounty token to this sector. We corrupt it if it's pure, and we add Voidborn Corvette with 2 fleet power. But to close the rift, I think that is a good compromise. I'm happy with that. So now, in this combat, they've got 1 sector defense, but because I've got a Corvette there and improved shields, I absorb 1 approach damage. So all of my fleet power make it in. And on the first salvo, the initiative is 3-3. But again, I have a Corvette, so I have 1 salvo absorb. So I absorb, they take a hit. Now on the next salvo, it's 3 initiative to 2. So I fire first. And they fire in return. I do lose 1 fleet power. And now I fire first again, and that's it for combat. So I just closed a rift. That's a huge point swing. That's a big deal. And then I can either remove a corruption or gain 5 resources. And so I'm going to remove this corruption from here. There we go. So maybe I'll score for that sector now. And I've got to flip over that rift tile. And that's a pure sector with a population of 1. So I do need to score my glory again for closing that rift. So I've got 3, 6, 7, 8. So from 176 to 184. So I've taken my agenda action. I copied this action, which I have not finished. I also get to build a installation somewhere. So I guess we'll go ahead and put it up there on that former rift sector, and I will deploy a, whatever this is, a sentinel up there as well. Did I say sentinel? Sentry. I think I did that earlier too. Deploy a sentry, put down an installation, and now this action is done being copied. And I still have 1 action to take, and that action is to gain a corruption to advance a track. So I think I'm going to put that corruption in the sector I just took over, and I must have bumped something at some point. This says 1, but I'm sure that started at 2. It did start at 2, and I have not decreased any pure populations for any reason. That should be a 2. Bumped it, sorry. I don't know when that happened. And so yeah, I'll corrupt that former rift. And I can't take this Galactic peak because there's no 4th cycle, but I can advance 1 track, and I'm going to make that my econ track. And now I can build a guild. And so let's put a banker's guild down here because I'm still getting a multiplier for that. And so that's already maxed out, but it still makes my science level go up too. There we go. So that was all of my actions. I don't know if I'm going to slot this or not. I guess I need to do some math, and I am not going to slot it. I don't think that's going to score better than anything I already have. So I'll just put that on the bottom of the stack. Even though it scored decently, I've got better stuff here. And now I need to resolve this war card. So first I need to skirmish. I have no corruption here on my house mat and only an additional 1 here on the board. So I need to skirmish somewhere at 1, but anywhere they are able to attack, I'll do at least 3 approach damage. So they'll never make it in, and therefore they will never have that extra 5 initiative bonus. So now I need to add 2 Voidborn fleet power to an adjacent sector. And I'm not sure exactly where that skirmish would have been, but I'm adjacent to all the Voidborn sectors, and the only one that can fully hold 2 fleet power is this one. So we'll just put them there, try and maximize. And now I've got to resolve this economic track, so I need to pay 1 material, 1 energy, and 1 science. And I do have a material, and I have a science, and I'm going to have to pay a credit instead of an energy, so I'm down to 9 credits. And that's the end of that war card. And so we've got 1 turn left. Let's draw the last alert card. And it is the last war card. Okay. I don't like that very much. We're going to skirmish at +1, and that'll be fine. But then if I successfully defend, I have to take a corruption. What a pain that is. And by the time we're resolving that, there's going to be no way to remove that corruption. So that's a bummer. So for my last turn, I'm going to play my special prosperity card. And I've got a neat trick here. I'm going to spend this trade token. And I'm going to start by taking this top action, I think, which costs 1 food, and I must recall 1 fleet power from the map. And so I'm going to take that Corvette. That's not doing much for me anymore. And now I can build an installation and advance my economic track. So let's start with the economic track. That goes up to here and then advances again, and I gain an agenda. There's no more turns after this, so I'm just going to ignore that because I'll have no way to put it into play. It has no effect on anything, so I'll forego the agenda. But I did want to get this economic track into the first tier for the scoring conditions up there on the Galactic card. And then for the installation, I will go up to that former Rift sector, and I will put a sector defense along with deploying another sentry. All right, so that was the top action. Now I'm going to take this bottom action. I'm going to remove a non-home installation to then build a guild in the same sector. So I'm going to go back to that former Rift sector, and I'm going to remove an installation to build a banker's guild up there. And then I can also remove a corruption from anywhere. So I'm going to remove the corruption from that sector. And so I know I've got a corruption coming, and I'm going to place it in this sector. I'm just kind of shifting. I've got more fleet power up there. I'll score better at this point for that sector than this one. So I'm trying to optimize the best I can. And now this middle action here is to recall 1 fleet power to gain either a might or a wealth agenda. And I'm just going to skip that action. I'm not going to take it at all. And now I'm going to return this trade token to the Galactic board and gain a bonus because I have Trade Nexus. So I'm going to gain 2 credits. And the reason I did that, and I go to 11, every credit for me because of Data Refinery is worth 2 upkeep. So that trade token was covering 2 upkeep here, but by replacing it with 2 credits, I'm now able to pay that upkeep plus another 2 upkeep. And I did think about, by the way, placing a guild here instead of in that top right corner, and then having a pure sector with 6 pop and 3 guilds, but I couldn't find a way to get 2 cubes in that safe haven. That would just get me 1 cube. And so I didn't have another track I was going to finish, and I couldn't find a way to double overproduce in a turn. So that's why I chose to just put it somewhere else where I could score for it. But let's take care of this war card now. So we need to skirmish at +1 fleet power. So it's 0 + 1 + 1 is 2 fleet power. And again, the minimum approach damage I'm doing is 3 in any of my sectors. So I win on approach, and now because I win, I need to take a corruption, which is a pretty lame prize. And you know what? I was going to corrupt this sector, but just kind of looking around at the map, I'm better off just corrupting one of my tracks here. Because each of these that's pure at the end is going to be worth 6. But like this sector, for example, is worth 1 for that. And then another 2 for having a sentry there, and then I have a fleet power cube there that's pure, so that's another 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for that Bankers Guild, plus another 2 population, 9, 10. Like, I don't want to deprive myself 10 influence just to save 6. So I guess that's where I'm going to corrupt. And now I need to pay the economic track, which is going to be 1 material, 1 energy, and 1 science, which means I need to pay a science and 2 credits. And now the war card is resolved, and that should have been all 6 turns this cycle. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're in the last evaluation phase, cycle 3. So now we start by resolving the crisis, or the crisis board again. So I've got 1 corruption on my house mat now, +1 because it's cycle 3. So the Voidborn are going to attack with 3 fleet power. But again, even in my weakest sector, I am doing 3 approach damage. 1 from a sentry, 1 from an installation, and 1 from energy cells. So I still win the combat, but now I have to pay this economic track again. So another science and 2 more credits. But I think I'll be okay. So let's check upkeep. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. That's it, just 10? That's not so bad. So my credits, I could just spend 5 credits. I still have 2 left, okay? And we have no safe haven stuff to do, so we go to the Galactic event, and remember, this is an and event, so we're going to score the whole thing. So each pure sector with a basic guild type is worth 1 victory point. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the dial. So that gets me to 189. And then, it's worth 2 victory points. So that gets me another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 194. Okay. And then each pure civilization track that's tier 1 or higher, so I've got 2 of those now, is worth 6 points. So that's another 12. So 194, that goes up to 206. And now we score the agendas. So my starting agenda, I score my pure population. So that's 4 and 6 is 10, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 226. Then 2 influence for each sector, each pure sector with a sentry in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those sectors. So that's 12 influence. 238. And each pure sector with a sector defense is worth 1 victory point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sectors. So that's going to be 244. And then I lose 2 for every corruption on my house mat. So it brings me down to 242. Now, if I have 2 pure engineers guilds and 2 pure miners guilds, I've got enough of those. Then that is 6 influence, so 248. And 3 influence for every pure sector with a bankers guild. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. 6 times 3 is 18. So from 248, 58, 68, 67, 66. That one was pretty huge. Now if I have 3 pure sector defenses, I've got that covered. That's 5 influence. So that's going to be 271. And now 2 influence for every pure fleet power on the map. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 2 is 16 influence. So from 171 or 271 to 277 to 87. And now if I have 4 pure sectors, which I do, 4 influence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 291. And now basic techs are worth 2 influence each. I've got 2 of those, so that's 295. And improved techs are worth 3 each. So that's another 9. So that is going to get me up to 304 influence. 304 is my final score. So now let's total it up for the Voidborn. So we played on hard. They're starting at 140. Sounds a little unfair. I started at 10, but that's what it is. And then they get 30 for any open rifts. There's none. 20 for the safe haven. We closed 1, but 1 is not complete, so that's 160. 1 catastrophe gets us to 180. 1 harbinger on the map is 190. And then we consumed 1 tech, 195. There are no ongoing crisis cards, so that's nice. And there's no fallen house on the map. So now 2 influence for every corruption in the game. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to be 205. And finally, population in Voidborn sectors. So we've got 2, 5, 9, 10, 11. So that is a final score of 216. So 304 to 216. Oh, although I'm just catching this during this part, I did not count this to upkeep in the very last cycle, but I still have another credit, so I paid for it, so that doesn't affect anything. Technically, I guess these can be activated too. So there you go. That was First Stand, and that was on hard mode with House Astoran, starting with Sentries. Much better than my last hard mode playthrough. So 304 to 216. I feel pretty good about that score. I'm really glad I took that catastrophe token early on. That would have it would have wrecked me if I had just tried to go on the path I was going down, where I was going to be having no resources. But this was a lot of fun. Like I said, I think this house ability where you're paying the extra upkeep really scares people away from House Astoran, but they're pretty good. You know, the feedback loop with Sentries and installations is just crazy once you can get it going. It's pretty cool. And I was fortunate to get both data refinery and energy cells in this playthrough, but those are both great techs to pair with Sentries if you can. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I had a really good time. I'm glad I played. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And again, I just want to mention it. This was a viewer requested matchup. They just wanted to see Astoran on hard mode, and they kind of wanted to see me spread out a little bit on the map and see how I paid for my upkeep. So hopefully, whoever it was that requested that, hopefully you've sort of seen some of that. Hopefully I did what you were looking to see. And if anyone else has a request for something they'd like to see in this game, some type of matchup, a certain map, a certain difficulty mode, a certain house, you know, particular techs in the offer, I would be happy to play it and give it a shot. I can't guarantee I'll win or even do well, but I'll play it and do my best and give you my thoughts as I go. So I'm available for that. But otherwise, I'll just keep working through all the levels in the compendium again on hard mode, just trying to cycle through all the houses. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a like on this video. Leave some commentary if that's something you'd like to do. Don't forget you can share this video with somebody else who might enjoy it, or you can always head over to my coffee page. That's KO-FI. There's a link in the description, and you can drop me a couple bucks to help keep the channel running. I really appreciate it when people do that. And one more plug for my co-owned Etsy store. Link in the description for that. It's Brain Bucket Games. You can pick up any of these Voidfall pieces and more. Because if you haven't seen some of the things like the agenda tray and the tech tray, these things are just outrageous. Super helpful for keeping everything, you know, easy and organized and, you know, quick to find. Just set up and tear down is so much easier this way. So I would recommend those, of course. I enjoy having them. But that's what I've got this time on Table for One. I appreciate you watching. I hope you have an awesome week. I hope you had fun. I will see you in the next video. And until then, take it easy.